We've been talking a lot recently about the power factor in regards to the PS5 and Xbox Project Scarlett, and I wanted to make this video to clear some things up because apparently if I take some time to talk about a rumor, and what that rumor is, for those who don't know, is that the PS5 is more powerful than Project Scarlett based off of the dev kits that are currently out there with developers. I don't know. Okay, I'm not out here trying to make it seem like I do know. I just talk about, what we're hearing, what's making its way through the, the gaming industry rumor-wise, and what people are saying. But apparently if I say that, it suddenly means that power is all I care about, and that the PlayStation 5 definitely will be and needs to be the most powerful next-gen console, right? Because that's all that matters. Well, I'm going to clear a couple things up in this video, not just, for my sake, but for everybody to understand, because I know most of you already do. But there's still those individuals who they just don't get it. And I don't understand why they don't get it. But here's the truth of the matter, okay? Power does matter, but only to a certain extent. To what extent? I'll tell you. The excess power, the extra power for these next-gen consoles is completely necessary in order to justify them as next-generation consoles. That's going to be the only thing separating what these consoles are compared to the consoles we're using now. Okay, so in that sense, yes, power does matter. It's what's going to get people excited to go out there and upgrade. Now, in terms of who's going to have the more powerful console, Sony with the PS5 or Microsoft with Project Scarlett, is that going to matter? I'm going to say no, it's really not. Because whether anybody wants to believe this or not, there's really not that much that Microsoft could do at this point in time to convince people who are not convinced to go out there and buy Project Scarlett. That's the important thing to understand here. The people who are sitting here hyping up Project Scarlett, who are hyping up, it potentially being the most powerful next-gen console, these are people who already decided years ago that they were already going to buy whatever the next Xbox is. To whereas most people are already decided on the idea of, I'm going to upgrade to the PS5 next-gen. Maybe day one, maybe a couple months after, maybe a year or two after it releases, but they've already made that decision. And do you know why they've made that decision? Do you know why? I'll tell you why. It's because of the games. But going even further than that, I'm not even just going to say the games, because I feel like that's too obvious, right? It's because of the talent. And so if you want to know what beats power, what beats the power advantage, talent beats the power advantage. Talented developers, which is exactly what Sony has, which is exactly what Microsoft has been lacking and may still lack. I will say Microsoft has, went out of their way to show that they are on a hiring spree and they're trying to bring on more talent, which I think is completely necessary at this point if they want to even stand a chance with their games going forward. But they have yet to prove anything. They have yet to show anything. And you know how the saying goes, the proof is in the pudding. And so far, Microsoft hasn't shown the pudding. People aren't seeing it. But when you look at Sony, it's the exact opposite. Sony has proven throughout this entire generation what they are capable of. Not just Sony as a company, but the developers, the teams. Like Naughty Dog, Guerrilla Games, even Insomniac, even their second-party relationships. They've proven what they are capable of. And it's just so funny how you see these Xbox fans cling so desperately to this because it's all they have, honestly, and it's kind of obvious at this point. It really is. The reason why PlayStation fans aren't freaking out at the idea of the PS5 potentially being underpowered compared to the next-gen Xbox, well, there's a couple reasons. The first reason is exactly what I said. They already know what to expect in the games department, and content is king. Doesn't matter what anybody says. Doesn't matter what, it does not matter what type of argument anybody wants to try and construct. Content is king, always has been, always will be. Okay? Everything else is secondary to that. So, PlayStation fans are not only convinced because of that, but because they also know, most of them anyway, most gamers at this point have the understanding that when it comes to these next generation machines, that even if Project Scarlett ends up being more powerful, and I've reiterated this, like this is a reiteration I should say, I've already said this before, but I need to say it again because some people still just don't get it. These consoles are going to be so similar to one another that the difference you're going to see is going to be minimum. Believe me when I tell you, whichever console ends up being more powerful, and this goes for PlayStation as well, it's going to be like a 10 maybe to 20% difference, 20% max. I just don't see it being anything beyond that. Unless Microsoft or Sony does something crazy that nobody saw coming, which is a possibility. But believe me, you're not going to see that big of a difference. You're really not. Now, does this mean that if we find out the PlayStation 5 ends up being more powerful than the next Xbox, that I'm not going to brag about it because we already know it's not going to be that big of a difference? No, I'm going to brag about it, and I will tell you why. Because it'll be funny to do so. It's funny to think, and this is why people have been talking about this, because you see how defensive these Xbox fans get, because they're basically proving us right when we say that all they have at this point is that power factor with what they have with the Xbox One X. That's all Microsoft has been able to really offer them, for the end of this generation, and so they want to cling on to that. It would be insane for me to think that Microsoft would actually find a way to give that up and to let that go. Because you know what? There's going to be people who try to tell me, MBG, or tell others, you just wait. You just wait till next generation. Wait until you see what Microsoft has. They had the games. They got stuff cooking. Like, I don't care. And I don't know if you know this, but not many people do care. Okay? You know what happens when people wait around long enough? They decide they're not going to continue waiting. And the few people that are still waiting and saying these things, you might want to prepare yourself, because any time, like Microsoft has not done a single thing this generation to give me any ounce of confidence in their ability to deliver great gaming experiences going into next generation. They've done the literal opposite. So, I hope for Microsoft's sake and for their fans, the people who are still Xbox loyal, the people who still bleed green, I really hope for their sake that Microsoft finds a way to hold on to that power advantage. Even if they're just holding on to it by a 10% factor here, I hope they can, because it's really all they have. Now, if they can do that and then actually come out and show some decent looking games, okay, that's a start. Maybe you'll actually start winning some people back, but believe me when I tell you, like, the power factor, the thing that really gets me, and this is where I want to end this video here, but the thing that really gets me is people talk about it, and I admit I've been guilty of this myself. I'm not going to make it seem like I haven't spoken this way before, but I just want to clear up like where I actually stand here. People have a tendency to talk about the power factor as if that is the deciding factor for gamers. As if it's going to be more important for people who are looking to upgrade to a next-gen console to hear buzzwords like 8K and like 120 FPS. Like, that's going to be more important than seeing the games that they're going to have on offer. And it's just not. Like, people think, some people for some reason think that that's actually the thing that matters. And I fell for this. Believe me, I say this because I've experienced it. I bought into the Xbox One X, and I was so hyped for this thing, man. And I thought, oh man, I cannot wait to see the games Microsoft's going to deliver on this. And the only game that's popping into my head right now is Crackdown 3, like one of the newer games. Like, that's what I got on the Xbox One X. I mean, we did get Forza Horizon 4, and I know I'm being a little harsh here. I'm not trying to make it sound like Microsoft hasn't done some pretty cool things with the console, but believe me when I tell you that now that I've played games like Horizon Zero Dawn, or I'm playing it, and I've played God of War, and even like Uncharted 4, seeing what Sony's developers and what their talent is able to do with a machine that, in some ways is significantly less powerful than the Xbox One X, it's actually pretty amazing. So, and it gets me and many other PlayStation owners and gamers excited to see just what Sony's talent is going to be able to do with the PlayStation 5 come next gen. And so these are just some of the reasons, but some of the most important reasons as to why, at the end of the day, the power factor isn't going to matter that much. Does that mean I'm not going to talk about it? No, of course I'm going to continue to partake in this conversation going forward, and I'm going to have some fun, and you better believe that I'm going to poke some fun at the Xbox crowd or anybody else if the PlayStation 5 ends up being more powerful, because you know what? I'm not going to lie. It's going to be pretty funny if that turns out to be the case, because I don't think anybody would be expecting Microsoft, after how hard they went in with the Xbox One X and the world's most powerful console and just really trying to take that power advantage back and hold on to it desperately. I don't think anybody would actually expect Microsoft to end up having the less powerful console come next generation. And if they did, I think it would be pretty funny. You know, so this is where Sony has played it so smart this gen, where they don't have to worry about that. You know what I mean? Like, Sony has proven that not just this generation, but through multiple generations, that we don't need the most powerful console on the market to have a successful console and to create some of the best games on this console. You know, even Nintendo proves that, right? So, I don't know. I guess I just felt the need to make this video because I've seen, again, a lot of conversations surrounding this, and there's just so many people who either misinterpret what I say or misinterpret what other people say. But, you know, just to clear it up and just to summarize it here, does the power matter? Yeah, but only to the extent where we need to see a difference going from this generation to next generation. Does the power factor matter when it comes to PlayStation 5 versus Xbox Scarlett, who's going to be more powerful? Probably not. Not because I don't want it to, but simply because, practically speaking, realistically speaking, these consoles are going to be very, very similar in architecture, and the difference you're going to see between them is going to be most likely very minimal. Could I be wrong? Of course I could. But something tells me I'm not. Something tells me that we're not going to see that big of a difference. And so at this point, it seems to me that, like, you know, PlayStation gamers, people who are playing on PlayStation, it seems like they actually seem to care more about the games at this point going forward. You know they have a lot to look forward to. Buying and upgrading to the PlayStation 5, you already know you can look forward to Horizon Zero Dawn 2, Spider-Man 2, God of War 2, a potential, you know, continuation of the Uncharted series, potentially a Bloodborne 2 one day, and the list goes on, as well as a bunch of new IP, maybe even a Days Gone 2. That's what Sony has established this generation going into next generation. At this point, Microsoft, you know you can expect Halo, Forza, Gears, and some smaller titles. When it comes to the bigger new stuff that they're going to have, I don't know. They have yet to prove it, and the proof is in the pudding, man. And Microsoft hasn't really been showing the pudding. They haven't been bringing out the pudding. So, yeah, that's going to do it for the video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. Just wanted to have this conversation and clear a few things up. So at this point, I'm going to ask you to let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Be sure to leave the video a like if you did enjoy it or if you agree with what I had to say here. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.